What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Therapy on Two Wheels. Today we're going to be talking about how motorcycles can help with depression. Let's jump in. So I wanted to talk today about how motorcycles can help with depression. There's a lot of people that deal with depression throughout their lives, and I've written down kind of 7 things to talk about, and the first one specifically is the differences between chronic depression and acute depression. Now, chronic depression is something where you're having depression pretty much all the time. It doesn't necessarily have to do with something that's a death in the family or a bad situation, whether it's losing your job or something like that. That's more of acute depression, where it's an onset typically because of something that has happened in your lives that's going to be causing those particular feelings of depression, whereas chronic depression can happen to people when there's really nothing that's going bad in their lives. It's just something internally that's happening in their brain that causes them to have the depressed feelings, to have the lack of motivation, to have the lack of interest in things that they don't really enjoy, even if everything else in their life is going really well. So it's kind of those two distinctions between acute and chronic depression, and motorcycling, in my mind, can help with both of those. Now, we do hear, especially with my channel called Therapy on Two Wheels, riding motorcycles can be therapeutic, but it is not a replacement for therapy in itself. I personally have gone through therapy multiple times in my life, going through different situations, and I think it's extremely helpful, and I don't think anybody should replace talking with a therapist with riding motorcycles, because there's a lot of things that you can learn, whether it's different skills or just exercises that you can do, kind of understanding why you're feeling those certain feelings, why you feel that certain way, and how you can help with that. But motorcycling can help, and it can be a therapeutic exercise. So it's kind of something in lines with therapy, but it's not a replacement for talking with a licensed professional. Now, how can motorcycling actually help with depression? Well, one of the main things that causes depression, or is kind of a symptom of depression, is ruminating thoughts. Now, I've been reading different articles recently kind of about, there's 2 different types of individuals. There's individuals that have inner monologues, and there's individuals that have basically no inner monologues. Me personally, I do have an inner monologue, so my thoughts are running basically 24 hours a day, from the time that I'm waking up to the time I'm going to sleep, and probably while I'm sleeping as well. There's an internal monologue that's going on in my head, and one of the major issues that I personally have is ruminating thoughts. So thinking about, maybe I had a conversation earlier in the day that didn't go so well, whether it's at work or in personal relationships, and I just think over and over again about the things that I said, the things that they said, and what I could have said differently. I also think about future upcoming, whether it's work meetings or interactions that I'm going to have that may be uncomfortable with somebody that's in my personal life, and I think about what I'm going to say over and over and over again, and I actually say those words in my head. And a lot of times when it's a negative thought, that's just going to say the same thing in your head over and over and over. It kind of reinforces. It's a vicious cycle that reinforces those negative thoughts, and it's very hard to get that out of your head. Now, how motorcycling can help with that, with those ruminating thoughts, is that when you are motorcycling and you're on the road, especially when you're in city traffic around a lot of cars, there's so many things that you have to think about and you have to be looking at and focusing on, that you don't really have space in your brain for those ruminating thoughts. I love coming out to these types of roads because they're open. There's typically not a lot of cars on here. I'm not having to do a whole lot of dodging traffic and thinking, is somebody going to turn in front of me? It's a pretty relaxed ride for me. But when I go into city traffic, especially heavy city traffic, you're having to think about every single car that's around you, that's behind you, different obstacles in the road, the different road surfaces. Is there oil in the road? Is the light about to turn yellow? There's so many things that you're focusing on that it's very hard to really think about anything else, especially those ruminating thoughts. So for that particular reason, at least for me, that's why motorcycling is one of the best helps for me with depression, is because there's so many different things that I have to focus on while I'm on a motorcycle that my brain doesn't have the capacity to think about those negative thoughts at the same time. So it's a very helpful therapeutic exercise for me to hop on a motorcycle I just kind of forget about everything that's going on in my brain for a few minutes and just enjoy my riding. You know, another way that motorcycling is helpful for depression is one of the best things for depression is just getting out and doing something out of your house. You know, a lot of times if you're just sitting at home, you have those thoughts, you're in a place that maybe you're not happy with, maybe your home is the bad place for you. Just getting out and doing anything can be helpful, even if it's going and running errands. You know, it may not necessarily be something enjoyable, but just getting out and doing something really helps with those depressive thoughts and those depressive feelings, especially the lack of motivation. Just getting up and moving your body is extremely helpful. So motorcycling is kind of forcing you to do something that you already enjoy. You know, a lot of times with depression, it's the feelings of not wanting to do your hobbies or things that you're typically interested in. That is one of those symptoms. So if you kind of force yourself just to put your gear on, go hop on your motorcycle and go for a ride like this, even if you're really not in a good place mentally and you're not feeling very good, getting on the motorcycle and doing something that you know you typically enjoy is automatically going to make those kind of endorphins and good feelings in your body start kicking in, and it makes you feel better overall. With motorcycling, it's very different compared to riding a car in the sense that when you are on a motorcycle, the journey is most of the fun when you're riding, because that's why you ride motorcycles, because it's fun to ride them. That's not the same for when you're in a car. A lot of times the destination is going to be the fun part. When you're on a motorcycle, like for me today, I don't really have a destination. I have points where I'm going to be stopping and where I know I'm going to be going to, but my destination doesn't really make a difference here. It's the roads that I'm taking and the route that I'm taking and the type of riding that I'm doing that are important to me, and that's what's fun. So going on these roads, even though I'm only going 25 miles an hour right now, you know, it'll be the next probably hour of my ride, I'll be going 25 to 35 miles an hour. It's still fun just being on a bike, leaning the bike into specific angles, having this open air just blowing through my helmet. It's a great feeling for me, and it's a positive energy for me. So hopping on this bike, going out and riding, that's the joy that I get. It's not necessarily the destination. You can have a fantastic destination that you're riding to, but for the most part, for a lot of motorcycle riders, especially going on group rides, it's the ride that's the fun part, not necessarily the place that you're going to be stopping at. Kind of along those lines too, you know, it's not necessarily just the joy being on in the motorcycle, but because it's an activity, not only is it healthy for you mentally, it's healthy for you physically. So when you are motorcycling, most people don't think about this, it is a very physical exercise, especially depending on how hard you're riding, you know, what speeds that you're going to be going at, what lean angles, how heavy your bike is, you know, how hard it is to maneuver your bike. All those things are taken into consideration when you're moving your body and you're moving the bike while you're riding. If I'm on this really easy ride, I'm not going to be burning a whole lot of calories because I'm not doing a whole lot of intense lean angles. I'm not having to really engage my core a whole lot while I'm on the bike. It's a fairly easy ride, so I'm not going to be burning too much. But typically, even on an easy ride, you can burn 150 to 200 calories per hour while I'm just doing something like this. If I was more on a track, I'm going at much higher speeds, I'm leaning off the bike a lot more, engaging my core a lot more, I can be burning up to 500 to 600 calories per hour, which, you know, compared to running, so say if I'm doing a 10-minute mile when I'm running, which is, you know, kind of average for somebody that's going to be running. If I can do a 10-minute mile, I can run 6 miles within an hour. That, for my size, I'm about 200 pounds, about 6'2", I can burn about 100 calories per mile. So if I'm doing track days and I'm riding on the track for an hour, or I'm going and running 6 miles, I'll be burning roughly the same amount of calories. And that's kind of crazy for people to understand, because you are riding a machine and the machine's doing a lot of the work, but because you're so physically active with your body, it actually burns quite a bit of calories. So that physical exercise is also really helpful for depression. That is another thing that you'll hear from therapists all the time, is get up and do some type of physical activity, because of the endorphins and the other chemicals that are released in your brain and in your body while you're exercising. That is why it's really helpful for depression. And then the last thing that I have on my list here is a reason that motorcycling can be really helpful with depression is going on group rides or just engaging with the motorcycling community. You know, I love making these motorcycle videos and post them on YouTube. just interacting with, you know, different people that watch my videos and talking about motorcycles, talking about different rides and areas to ride in. It's really nice to engage with a community of people that have a common interest with you. And when you get into motorcycling, you're almost automatically accepted into the motorcycling community. No matter what bike you're riding, you know, you can be riding a little 125 Grom, or you can be riding a 900-pound Harley Davidson. Most people, not all, but most people are going to be cool with you riding whatever bike, as long as you're on 2 wheels or even 3 wheels. If you have a trike, you know, most people are accepting of all types of vehicles that are going to be riding on the roads like this. And it's nice to go out, if you want to engage with other people, go out on those group rides, some more of those casual group rides, or just engage with people, go to meetups. You know, it's a great way to get a community of people and meet people and kind of meet some new friends and things like that. And that's also really helpful for depression, is going and talking to people, going and having personal interactions instead of just sitting at home by yourself, again, with those ruminating thoughts, thinking about what's going wrong, thinking about why you're depressed. If you go out and you're interacting with other people, again, it doesn't leave space for those thoughts in your head, because you are socially interactive with other human beings. So that's kind of 7 reasons why I believe that motorcycling is very helpful for depression, and especially for myself, since that is something that I have dealt with for quite a long time. This is why I love motorcycling, and one of the things that's really helped me with my depression symptoms. So, hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you agree or disagree down in the comment section. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you want to see more videos like this one in the future, and I'll see you all in the next one.